has taken over. Let's go. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast. Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money. It's Ferrall, coast to coast.
So in 1980, you got to remember, I was a young kid, right? I was still in high school, and the U.S. hockey team beat the Russians in Lake Placid, and I'll never forget it. And here's why, Cam, because I wasn't a hockey fan until that game. And I saw them beat the Russians. And then I saw little Mark Johnson, the way he played, and Eruzione and everything else. You got to remember, the Penguins got their hands on Mark Johnson. So when the Olympics were over, I started going to hockey games religiously with my dad in Pittsburgh. So I went to every single Penguin game from that day forward. And I've been, as you know, a diehard Penguin fan my entire life since 1980. I went to every game as a kid, 41 games a year, playoff games. I had heartbreak galore multiple times against the Islanders, multiple times against the Capitals, multiple times against the Canadiens, multiple times against the Flyers. And then they finally won the Stanley Cup in 91 and 92 with Lemieux and Jagr, like we talked about earlier. My three favorite games of all time, the 1980 Olympic hockey game, number one. That was the greatest game I ever saw in my life. College kids beating the Red Army. Number two, 2009, Fleury, the Flower, wins at the Joe in Game 7 against the Red Wings when no one in the world had ever beaten them in a Game 7 at Detroit, and the Penguins did it. That was number two. Number 3 and 4 would be their back-to-back Minnesota and Chicago Cups. And number 5 would be a tie between the Nashville and Shark Cups that they won. So those are my 5 greatest memories in hockey. And I love Canada. I love Toronto. You know, it's one of my favorite cities. I love everything about Canada. I love you. But I will not root for the Canadian hockey team ever.
For shame. No, anyway, here's the deal. The U.S. Olympic story is one of the best of all time, and you talked about it. College versus the Russians, and nobody beat the Russians. But people failed to realize the most important thing, they had to play another game after that.
Right.
They had to beat Finland in the gold medal game. And in today's world, if you pull off an upset, kind of like college basketball, you're a 32-point underdog winning outright, and then you have to play the next game. That's the more impressive thing, how they got their wits together with Brooks and said, listen, now we got to take on these Finns and get it done. Scott, I'm such a loser as Elite fans. My best memories, Nikolai Borashevsky in 92-93. We beat the Wings in 7. Big deal. No cups in my lifetime, buddy. City of losers.
Oh, the pain, the humanity. All right.
I do. Pain.
Let's go to the NBA again. We've got the odds to win the East. We'll start this hour with that. We welcome our radio affiliate, SiriusXM Channel 159, Sports Byline, and their radio affiliates, a Thirsty Thursday, C2C. The Prime Minister in for Carver High today. Always a pleasure to work with the great Cam Stewart live. You can catch him later on Sports Rage with our boy Morency, who is on this show every day as well. So the Eastern Conference odds. I like the, obviously, I think it's the Celtics and the Knicks in my book. And I got to be honest with you, I think Cleveland has played fantastic. I do not buy the Sixers at all. And I also am not a fan of the Bucks. I think Giannis is unstoppable. I think, frankly, Lillard and Giannis together hasn't worked.
Know what, Scott? And we talked about this, me and Gabe, last night. Look at the Bucks. What are these guys doing to their coaches? It's actually funny. Remember Budenholzer, your buddy at the bar? He looks like a guy I sit down and have a couple beers with at the tavern. These guys won a championship with Budenholzer. What have they done since? Those odds stink. 3-1, I'm with you. I'm not on Milwaukee. The Knicks look like a little bit of value at 7. Boston's the team to beat. And you know what? Maybe Cleveland one day will get over the hump, Scott, but you talked about it. Playoff disappointment. But at 8-1, I'd rather have the Cavaliers than the 76ers. I'm with you. Never bet Philly, even at 14-1.
Obviously, I think Philly's going to get Embiid back for the playoffs, and that's all that matters. But they're not the same. Like, they think they're better without Harden, and they're not. Maxey and Embiid and Harris, to me, is not the same as having Harden on that team controlling everything in the half court offensively, getting the right guy to rock, getting the right shots, getting the right dimes to the right people, and getting the ball to JoJo on the pick and roll. They're not the same team without him. To me, Maxi's a flyer, and he's a scorer, and he's a slasher and a cutter. And I thought they gave him too much freedom without Harden to do whatever he wants. And he doesn't play the pick and roll game with Embiid. And that's why they're not the same. Harden knew how to play the pick and roll with Embiid as good as anybody. Now let's look at the West. Here are the odds for the Western Conference. And we've talked about it on the show already. I talked about it with Coach. I'm not buying the Timberwolves, who are in first. I like the Thunder and the Nuggets. And then Suns and Clippers. So I put the Clippers fourth. And of all upset teams that I would like, it would be Dallas, based on the backcourt of Crybaby, Whiny B, Luka, and of course, Jesus himself, Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, here's the thing. Obviously, the Nuggets, it's going to be almost impossible to beat these guys. The Clippers, though, Kawhi, does he have one more kick at the can? These guys seem to be getting along right now. They're a very, very dangerous team. I'm with you. The Minnesota Timberwolves will get there, but they'll fade out. They'll flame out. I don't trust Phoenix. So those are one of the things. And we look at Oklahoma City, the young Oklahoma City Thunder with SGA in that group, Scott. I'm a big fan of that team. I'd love to see them make a deep run. So we're reading each other's mail. And as Prime Minister, you got to love some Canadian content with SGA, one of the best scorers. This guy's really figured it out. Oklahoma City next to the Raptors are my team.
I love Jaden Williams. I like Dort. I love Abraham Lincoln, a.k.a. Chet. I think that he's fantastic in that set, in that offense. I love their coach, Daniel. I think everything about him I like. This is the team of the future, and they're here now. The future is now in OKC. All right, let's look at the double-digit favorites this year in the NBA. Double-digit favorites are lousy, 43% against the spread this season. Big favorites tonight, Nuggets 15 and a hook against the Wizards. Pacers 11.5 against the Pistons. Kings 11.5 against the Spurs. Do you give any of those big spreads a shot tonight? Maybe the Kings against Wemby and the Spurs. They're awful. Wemby's not, but they are.
Yeah, that's the thing. Wemby, we talk about his minutes, and if he keeps on playing, this guy's just going to be absolutely huge. But you know what, Scott? I would take the Kings in that spot. The other two I'm a little bit hesitant on. 15.5 in the NBA, no thanks. I don't want any part of that. There's other games we can bet, but I would look at Sacramento.
All right, let's start looking at these games tonight. I want to start with the Knicks and Philly. Philly laying 1. It's on MSG at 7. I'm going to watch. I like the Knicks in Philly.
So do I. And you know what, Scott? I also like, with the Knicks injuries, the total a little bit too low. That's what we're thinking about. Not as much defense with the Knicks. The break came at a good time when they lost 4 in a row. I like them to come out of the break hot, kind of like a team in the NFL. They got to hit the reset button. Give me the Knicks and give me the over, buddy. Let's roll.
All right, when we come back, we'll hit the rest of these games later this hour. Adam Kaplan, our NFL insider, joins us. This is Coast to Coast. No, don't go anywhere, Slate.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
do with the Nets, though? Because this team is hot garbage. I mean, poor Jacques Vaughn. Talk about just wrong place, wrong times.
I mean, the reason that they parted ways with Jacques Vaughn in the first place, this is a team that, yes, they had Kyrie and KD at the beginning of the year last year, but they were still a team that made the playoffs. They were still a team that took the game off the 76ers. And going into the All-Star break, they weren't even in the play-in picture.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
It felt during the year that there was a little bit of disconnect with Wilkes and Kyle Shanahan. The total points allowed by Steve Wilkes' defense the last 3 years before this, head coach for the Cardinals, they gave up the 26th most points, defensive coordinator for the Browns, 20th most points, and then Carolina, they gave up the 19th most points.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Ferrall Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, let's keep rolling through these NBA games tonight. 12 games on the docket. Orlando is in Cleveland. Cleveland laying 8.5 the last time I checked. 217 is the total. Cleveland has been unbelievable this year. You can't deny it. Their regular season's been fantastic, and they're good to bet on.
They are, Scott, but here's the thing. The Cavaliers were the hottest team 9 out of 10 heading into the break, and now you get an all-star break. That's bad for business when you're a hot team. This line opened up at 6.5. I'm seeing 8.5s out there. I'm going to Disney World, buddy. I'm taking the Magic tonight to get it done. I will take the points. Cleveland might win the game, but I'm taking the points with the Orlando Magic. Maybe I'm just a stooge because I bet on the Padres in baseball. And I'm going to take the underdog. Give me some Magic, baby. Let's go.
Whoa. Slow down, son.
Whoa.
All right, Detroit and Indy in Naptown at the Pacers. They're laying 12. You saw it before, 11.5, 247 the number against the lowly 8-win Pistons who've lost their boy Beef Stew for 3 games after fighting with Eubanks.
Yeah, Beef Stew's got an anger problem, man. You think, like, see, Stew? I'm not in this guy's league. This guy will put you in a pretzel. He is tougher than nails. I don't like this game, Scott. I think Indiana should win right around the number. I don't want to lay 11.5 in this game. I'm going to let it go, slightly into the over.
Brooklyn's in Toronto. You saw Coach betting on Scotty Barnes. I think the Raptors are awful. They're laying 231.5. They're even worse than the Nets. I think the Nets can actually go in there and beat them.
Yeah, me and Morency, we disagreed on this game. I'm like, I think the Nets are in a good spot. It's been bet down 1.5. But you know what? I don't trust Toronto. The good news for them is Scotty Barnes was the only guy all-star weekend. You know what? I like Brooklyn in this spot. This game will come down to the wire. Probably the Nets will win by like 3 or 4 cover. Horrible game.
On TNT at 7:30, Phoenix and Dallas, a good one. The whiny crybaby B, Luka, and his pal Jesus, Kyrie Irving, against the big three of KD, Beal, Book, and it's Dallas minus 1.5, 245. I'm kind of thinking the whiny crybaby B gets it done at home tonight in Big D, and they actually win by a bucket or more.
I'm with you, Scott. It's a tough game, but I'm going to be with Dallas tonight. I think they can take down Phoenix. Seems like a short number. I will take Dallas in this spot. Not a lot of defense there. Coming out of the break, I want to see how these totals hit. I think we might get some overs with some sloppy play, but we will see. I like Dallas, but it's a tough game.
All right, Boston in Chicago on the west side of the United Center. Boston laying 8.5, 224.5. The Celtics are the best team in the East. And a lot of people think maybe the best team in the league, even though Denver's got the crown.
Yeah, this is an interesting spot. You know, you're looking for a home dog in Chicago. I just can't get there in this game. It's Boston or nothing. If you don't want to lay the points, you can put it in a money line parlay with a couple other things. But, yeah, I'm going to take Boston. I don't like the spread, though.
The Pels are at the Smoothie on Bourbon Street, laying 7 to the Rockets, 229. B.I., Brandon Ingram, and C.J. McCollum, Zion, can they cover the 7-burger against the young Rockets?
This is tough. You know, you look at the record of New Orleans, 11 games over 500, but, you know, against the spread, that's another story. They're 5-5 in their last 10. Houston, not great, but, you know, they can cover once in a while. I don't like this game at all. I would take the dog in Houston, but I lean to the Rockets. But I was hoping you'd have an opinion, Scott. Tough game for me.
Yeah, that's a tough game, and I actually I laid it. I laid 6.5 this morning and bet it against the Rockets. The Clippers are in OKC. The Thunder laying 235.5 is the number, and you know how I feel about the Thunder. I always like this team, no matter who they're playing, even if it's the Clippers and Kawhi.
Agreed. And this is an interesting game, though. We had Bovey on the show last night on Sports Rage Late Night, and great live opportunity in this game with the spread really low. If a team gets up, I think we can hit this both ways. But if you're going to make a pregame bet, I will take Oklahoma City minus the 2 points.
Denver's laying 15, 232.5 against the crappy Wizards at the Ball in the Mile High City tonight. That's a big chunk, laying a 15 spot.
You know what, Scott? These guys are 39-19, but look at them, 3-7 in their last 10 ATS. So the Nuggets, sure, they win games. Do they cover spreads? As for Washington, they're horrible. They have 9 wins, but they've covered 6 of their last 10. I cannot lay 15.5. I don't care. It's Washington or nothing here. It's about who covers. We don't care. You can't even put Denver in a money line parlay. So I would take the points with the lowly Wizards.
Utah's in Salt Lake Shakers at home laying 9.5, 229 against Charlotte. I'll tell you what. Not only did I take the 10 this morning with Charlotte because they've been scoring like crazy with Brandon Miller and company and Bridges, but I also bet the over.
Love the over in this game tonight. I agree with you. 228.5. I think we can get there. Too many points in this spot. Maybe some dogs out of the break, Scott. We're getting a lot of these big double-digit favorites, and you saw the board earlier. They just don't cover at a good number, so I'm going to take Charlotte. They're a bad basketball team, but they're scoring. Give me the 10.
The Golden State Warriors are at the Chase in the city. It's on TNT after the Phoenix game. Lakers, no LeBron. Golden State laying 6, 242. I laid the 5.5 this morning with the Dubs and Mr. Curry.
I'm with you again. We agree on this one. I like the Warriors to win this game by like 8-12. So I think they're going to cover the number. I don't care if LeBron's out. I wish he was playing, because if he was playing, Scott, we get a better line with Golden State in the game. So, but anyway, I'm still on the Warriors tonight. As for the total, 241.5. You need a real smooth, clean ride here, but I think it could get there.
If he was playing, I'd take the points. The Spurs are at the Golden One in Sacktown. Kings laying 9. 240 and a hook, Cam.
This line opened 8.5, and now steamed all the way up to 11, so that's very concerning. A lot of people are going to be on Sacramento tonight. I thought maybe they could cover, Scott. The more I think about this game, I don't trust these guys to cover big numbers, so I'm going to lay off this game. As for the total, opened up 240. We're seeing some 242.5, 243. I lean over. This should be a track meet. I hope if Victor plays a long time, San Antonio could be live, but we don't know what they're going to do.
So last night on FerrallOnABench.com, I was 9-2 in bets, and I'm going to tell you what I did as well in terms of a total. I bet the Clips Thunder over 236 this morning, so just to throw that in there as well. All right, let's go back to last night in the NHL. The Leafs win in Arizona. I got $1.25 out of that, laying the 1.5 on the puck line. Matthews scored his 50th and 51st in his hometown of Phoenix. fastest to 50 in almost 30 years. Here he is with his 50th in 54 games in front of those he grew up with in Arizona on Sportsnet.
4 again. Back it comes to Lilligren. Matthews shoots, scores! Number 50 for Austin Matthews in his backyard.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. The Bruins beat the Oilers in overtime in Edmonton after the Oilers scored 3 in the third to send it to overtime. Like Morency said, he bet it in-game that they would come back. They did. They tied it. He even thought they would lose, and they did. Charlie McAvoy getting involved in overtime on TNT.
Saka, right in. DeBrus. McAvoy dangles. A poke check. He scores! Charlie McAvoy wins it in overtime.
Wow, Sabres beat the Canadiens 3-2 in Montreal. Alex Tuck scores the game winner, shorthanded in the second to give Buffalo a 3-2 lead on MSG if we can get it in.
And in now with Suzuki and Caulfield, and it's smashed outside the line. Alex Tuck's got a chance at a breakaway. Alex Tuck settles it down to the net, scores! What a goal by Alex Tuck, a shorthanded marker, and the Sabres have taken a 3-2 lead.
This is when Cam does his Rick Jenneret for us.
Oh, the Montreal Canadiens are so trash, Scotty. Scores! Dave Suggerud in overtime!
Blackhawks 3-1, and the Jackets beat the Ducks 7-4. We'll do tonight later after Adam Cap.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Do with the Nets, though, because this team is hot garbage. I mean, poor Jacques Vaughn. Talk about just wrong place, wrong times.
I mean, the reason that they parted ways with Jacques Vaughn in the first place, this is a team that, yes, they had Kyrie and KD at the beginning of the year last year, but they were still a team that made the playoffs. They were still a team that took the game off the 76ers. And going into the All-Star break, they weren't even in the play-in picture.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
It felt during the year that there was a little bit of disconnect with Wilkes and Kyle Shanahan. The total points allowed by Steve Wilkes' defense the last 3 years before this, head coach for the Cardinals, they gave up the 26th most points, defensive coordinator for the Browns, 20th most points, and then Carolina, they gave up the 19th most points.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Ferrall Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
Back on C2C, Adam Kaplan is our NFL insider on SportsGrid and on Coast to Coast. You see him here regularly. He's getting ready next week to go to the Combine in Indianapolis, and I can't wait for those reports. But let's stick to where we're at today. And big story coming out of Kansas City, believe it or not, and it has nothing to do with shootings or murders or parades. It has to do with the Chiefs signing former punter Matt Araiza. Former meaning the guy was drafted and the Bills had drafted him and then cut him after he was accused of rape at San Diego State. And then after about almost a year of court proceedings and everything else, the charges against him were completely dropped because he had nothing to do with it. But they ruined his life. It destroyed the kid's life. He lost his NFL job, which he got drafted and would have made nice money and everything else. He was sent to hell. He was eradicated off the face of the earth. It really is an unbelievable story how quickly social media and the media and television can destroy someone's life in 5 seconds. Guilty before proven guilty. You're immediately guilty now in this world. If you're accused of anything, you're just finished. They destroyed his life, but the Chiefs signed him today, and the Steelers let him slip through their fingers.
Yeah, I'm told on your Steelers, they had interest in him. They did not offer a contract that I'm told, but yeah, the Chiefs did their homework on him. By the way, Araiza was there in Kansas City today with his agency, and he signed his one-year deal. And what's interesting here is they didn't work him out. Now, they knew that he had been working out since the Bills cut him, and he was ready to roll here. There was actually another team, I'm told. There were actually 3 AFC teams involved in terms of interest, but it was the Chiefs that offered him the deal. He signed it. Now, their punter, Tommy Townsend, had been their punter for 4 years, is unsigned. But the bottom line is, with Araiza's gift of being able to kick the football, one of the best punters in college football history, you could be rest assured, unless he has a very bad training camp, he'll be their punter at least for the season.
I mean, that guy can flat out punt. But you know what's funny? So can Townsend. I hit a huge bet at plus 200 in the Super Bowl with him nailing one inside the 5-yard line. They got rid of a really good punter to sign this kid. I mean, it really is crazy that they ended up with Araiza. And, how does this, honestly make the Bills look? I mean, they gave up on him so fast your head could spin. When he was accused of being involved in that gang rape, the Bills washed their hands of him in a hurry. I think it made them look foolish when he got found not guilty of anything.
Scott, what they could have done is they could have had him inactive until some information came out. They could just have him inactive every week, just like the Texans did. Remember with Deshaun Watson? They had him inactive. They could have done that. No, you're absolutely right. They didn't stand by him. Other teams, including the Chiefs, Steelers, and others, did their homework on him, and they were comfortable enough with the information they gathered that they could go forward. But it was the Chiefs. They were the only team to offer him a deal, and now they've got a young punter. And Tommy Townsend, again, as you mentioned, was a guy that they were with for 4 years and won more than one Super Bowl with him. But he is unsigned now. Fully expect Araiza to win that job, by the way, whether they re-sign Townsend or bring in another veteran. And look, the rich get richer now. The Chiefs, by the way, Chiefs have a lot of free agents. You and I have talked about this, and we'll talk a little bit about defensive free agency soon. They've got some tough decisions. They've got cap challenges here. It makes it more amazing to me, Scott, that somehow they've won back-to-back rings here. It's so hard in today's NFL, man. It's hard with the salary cap. They're going for a three-peat here. Who's to say they can't do it, but it's going to be extremely difficult.
Do you think they can get their hands on Mike Evans?
I brought that up earlier this week to a couple people. What I said was Rashee Rice is a young, emerging star at receiver. They need help on the other side. They've tried Valdez-Scantling. He was overpaid. Didn't work out. They tried Kadarius Toney. Hasn't worked out. Sky Moore, it hasn't worked out. This is a guy, if the Bucs don't get him back, if you're trying to make another run, but again, the problem is, what would he be willing to take at this point? Remember, the Bucs declined to re-sign him prior to last season. He's now a free agent. He's after one more big deal. It would be tough to do, but the Chiefs have to look at that receiver position. I know they've got other needs, other challenges here, but that receiver position opposite Rashee Rice, who was a terrific rookie, that remains an opening.
So what about Chris Jones? And there's others at tackle in the NFL, but none bigger than his name.
Yeah, and they want him back. They want L'Jarius Sneed back, their star corner, and they want Chris Jones back. They do have one franchise tag. I don't see him getting tagged at his age at 30 years old, but they want to make it work. He badly wants to come back. He loves it there. You know what's, Scott, an interesting thing about him? When he came, and the reason why he wasn't a first-round pick, he was a second-rounder, there were maturity issues with him coming into that draft in 2016. Over a series of years, he became one of the defensive leaders and a guy the younger players, as I'm told, look up to. So he's been a terrific chief. He'll go into their Hall of Fame someday for the franchise. But it's going to be hard. Brett Veach, their GM, said it's going to be extremely challenging. He knows that. This is what happens when you're a great football team and a great organization, and those guys have won 3 rings. It's just really hard to do. And look, you look at that division now with Jim Harbaugh in it. You've got to expect them to be better. But the bottom line is the Chiefs they got Andy Reid and they got Mahomes. You and I talked about this earlier this week. They're still going to be elite. But, man, if Jones or Snead leaves, it'll be that much harder.
What about Matabike in Baltimore and Wilkins in Miami?
Yeah. Matabike is a phenomenal football player. This is a guy like nobody talks about. For some reason, a lot of other players get a lot of attention. Marlon Humphrey is, of course, an elite corner. But Matabike is a guy that they probably will franchise if they cannot get a deal done by the deadline of March 5th. You don't let young star players walk here. And here's a guy that is great against the run, phenomenal as a pass rusher. This is a guy, I'm glad we're talking about him because he just doesn't get enough attention. And in Baltimore, for whatever reason, some other guys get it. Patrick Queen, by the way, we'll talk about in a minute. He's a free agent. He gets a lot of attention. Marcus Williams at safety, who signed a monster deal a couple of years ago. But Matabike is a guy you're going to hear a lot about in the next couple of weeks.
What about edge rushers of the names Allen in Jacksonville, Burns in Carolina, Hunter in Minnesota, Danielle Hunter, Huff in New York with the Jets, and Chase Young, who had a nice Super Bowl for the Niners?
Yeah. All right, so Josh Allen's going to get the franchise tag. The other Josh Allen, the pass rusher for the Jaguars, if they cannot get a deal done. Brian Burns also is a candidate for the franchise tag. I'm told last year when they were trying to negotiate an extension with him, he wanted well over $30 million per season. They were not going to do that. Let me just rephrase it: over $30 million, not well over. But his initial ask was over $30 million. They could not meet in the middle. They have new management there, new head coach, new general manager. Look for him to get the tag if they can't get that done. Danielle Hunter, talked to Rick Spielman today, the guy who drafted him, the former Vikings GM. And what Rick said, one of the things about Danielle Hunter is he does everything well, plays the run, over 20 combined sacks, well over 20 combined sacks the last 2 seasons. He's looking at a deal between 17 and 20 million a season if he does not re-sign with the Vikings. He's a phenomenal football player. And one sleeper for you. The guy doesn't even start. Bryce Huff, who was an undrafted free agent in 2020, is a great football player, great pass rusher. The guy is a 10-sack a season guy coming off the bench. He will sign a big deal if he does not re-sign with the Jets, which I think is likely only because they have so many good pass rushers. He needs to go elsewhere and be a starter. What a great evaluation the Jets did on this kid. How this kid becoming one of the better young pass rushers and not be drafted? That's an amazing story.
And what about Chase Young? Will he stay with the Niners or not?
Going to be hard to do. Chase Young will be looking for a very, very good payday. They're not looking to break the bank on him. In fact, I don't expect him to be very active in free agency. I wouldn't rule it out, but it's going to be hard to re-sign him.
How about Patrick Queen on the inside?
Yeah. Watch him. Now, he's a free agent. Look at the Seahawks. Mike McDonald, his former defense coordinator, is now the head coach. of the Seahawks, and wouldn't surprise me at all if they targeted him. And I want to mention a kid. We mentioned the Panthers and Brian Burns. Frankie Louvu, one of the best off-the-ball linebackers, a.k.a. inside linebackers of the National Football League. This guy's a playmaker, phenomenal football player, who the Panthers want. They'll do all they can to keep him. Frankie Louvu is a guy we're going to talk a lot about in the fall, and the Panthers are not going to lose him. One way or the other, they're going to keep him.
You talked about Snead with Kansas City. What about Jalen Johnson, the corner in Chicago?
Yeah, this is one of the best young corners in football. I know that their GM Ryan Poles didn't draft him. It doesn't matter. Really phenomenal football player, great kid off the field. The only thing he's had in his career that's a negative is injuries. He's a candidate to get the franchise tag. I don't see them letting him go. And LeJerry Snead, again, Chiefs need him badly. They have nobody who can replace him. And they play a lot of man coverage. Can't lose him. One way or the other, they got to keep him.
As for safeties, Winfield in Tampa, Curl in Washington, Duger in New England, who's young, and McKinney with the Giants.
Yeah, Antoine Winfield Jr., you might remember his dad, longtime defensive back for the Vikings and other teams. So when you look at Antoine Winfield Jr. here, the Bucs want him. One way or the other, they're going to keep him, whether it's the tag or something else, they're going to keep him. Cam Curl, underrated safety. They were not close on extension last fall, I'm told, but I expect this new regime to do all they can to keep him. And Kyle Duger also, the Patriots want him. And also Xavier McKinney now, he will not be easy to re-sign here. We'll see what happens here. This front office did not sign him originally. You should know that.
Of course, Adam will be going to Indianapolis next week. He's already begun doing calisthenics and packing his suitcase for the trip.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
With the Nets, though, because this team is hot garbage. I mean, poor Jacques Vaughn. Talk about just wrong place, wrong times.
I mean, the reason that they parted ways with Jacques Vaughn in the first place, this is a team that, yes, they had Kyrie and KD at the beginning of the year last year, but they were still a team that made the playoffs. They were still a team that took the game off the 76ers. And going into the All-Star break, they weren't even in the play-in picture.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
It felt during the year that there was a little bit of disconnect with Wilkes and Kyle Shanahan. The total points allowed by Steve Wilkes' defense the last 3 years before this, head coach for the Cardinals, they gave up the 26th most points, defensive coordinator for the Browns, 20th most points, and then Carolina, they gave up the 19th most points.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Ferrall Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game Time Decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two
coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
BetMGM continues to amaze everyone in the fact that they are continuously giving away money in droves. You can use the bonus code SG150 to get $150 in bonus bets instantaneously. All you have to do is get the app, the mobile BetMGM app on iOS or Android or at BetMGM.com. Start your account with $5, place a $5 bet on anything, standard odds, and you're good to go. Win or lose, you're getting 150 in bonus bets immediately, and you're going to be loving life with the BetMGM app moving forward. In fact, I believe that you'll play on the app more than you will speak with your family. And so at some level, your family will not matter anymore, and all that will matter is that you keep adding stacks to your BetMGM account, and it all started with 150 in bonus bets that they gave you. They are wonderful people. Go to BetMGM.com if you don't believe me. All right, the Prime Minister is ready to drop his hockey plays for the night, and he is on a roll, a wafer, a wheat thin, a croissant. Florida and Carolina in Raleigh, and Carolina's minus $1.15. 6 goals is the total between these two heavyweights. Are you surprised that Florida's been this good this season after the run they went on last year?
I am. Actually, I know Florida's a good team, Scott, but I got to tell you, the way they're winning games right now, they're playoff tough, but this is a good spot for Carolina. I think Carolina is one of these teams that, they're going to get up for this game. They're at home. The Caniacs are there. We're only laying 15 cents. Give me Carolina in this game, and I kind of lean over 6. I'm surprised they didn't put a 6.5 out there. Should have some goals, but I like Carolina minus 115.
All right, you see Dallas and Ottawa. Of course, Dallas has been unbelievable. 34 wins. They're minus $1.65, 6.5 the total in Ottawa.
Ottawa, they're a weird team. They could show up and then be horrible. Dallas has actually lost 3 games in a row. Surprising. I like the over 6.5, Scotty, more than anything in this game. Ottawa scores goals and gives up goals. So is Dallas. They can score goals too. I think 6.5. I see like a 5-4 game. So give me the over.
Islanders are minus $1.30 in St. Louis against the Blues. Blues plus 110 at home. The total is 6.
Leaning under in this spot. Small lean to the Islanders. Don't really like this game. Gabe and I talk about it. Betting on the Central Division, it's a recipe for disaster. I don't know what to do with the St. Louis Blues, so I'm gonna pass on this game. But I do kind of like the under.
The Bruins off the overtime win at Edmonton are in Calgary at Saddle Dome. Boston minus $1.25. Calgary at plus $1.05. 5.5 the total.
Yeah, low. What's going on here? Boston lost a couple defensemen against Edmonton last night. We talked about it. Edmonton is like the Leafs of the West. They find a way to gag. Big game for Calgary. I lean Calgary in the spot. Get at plus 105. Boston on the back-to-back.
In Amalie in Tampa, the Lightning are minus $1.95. 6.5 the total against the Capitals. You can get the Caps at plus $1.62.
I will not be laying $2 with the Tampa Bay Lightning. I'll tell you that. This game, I know I'm saying overs a lot, but I don't know how this one stays under with the goaltending on both clubs. Washington's been playing better. I lean over. Don't want to lay $2. Capitals might be live, Scotty.
All right, the Rangers and Devils, a pick 'em at the Rock. 6.5 the total tonight. Violence is certain in Newark.
Big time violence, big time hate. The Rangers won 8 in a row. This line kind of tells you something, Scotty. I'm going to do something probably stupid, and this team has really pissed me off this year, but I'm going to take the New Jersey Devils at home to end the winning streak at a pick'em.
The Penguins are at PPG minus 285 against Montreal. The total is 6. Minus 285, a team that can't even win against a team that has owned their ass over the years. Danger.
I agree. Stranger danger. I got to tell you, that price is nuts. Montreal lost to Buffalo last night. They might be playing better tonight. For me, Scott, if you like Pittsburgh, you got to take them, I guess, in a parlay or in regulation, but I'm not laying 225. As for the total, I have no opinion, but that price is way too high.
Avs are in Detroit at Little Sleezers. Colorado's minus $1.30. You can get the Wings at plus $1.10 on home ice. The total is 7 goals now.
I'm not going over 7. I'll tell you one thing, though. The Detroit Red Wings are a dirty pooch of the night, plus 120. Colorado should have lost their last game to Vancouver. They were outplayed. They got great goaltending. Detroit is a sneaky good hockey team right now. I will take Detroit, plus 120.
Yeah, I did too, and I bet it this morning. Out west, we got 3 to wrap it up on the last block. Toronto and Vegas and Cincinnati to make it a hub. Beautiful down Las Vegas, baby. Vegas at home, but Toronto still favored minus $1.15, and 6 is the number, and Visine Vince will be there.
Yeah, this guy is a real fan. Unlike me, he flew to Arizona. Visine Vince is here at the game. I texted him today. He's jacked up, putting all of his money, his Canadian loonies on the Leafs. I said, be careful, Vince. It's a back-to-back. He says, I don't care. I'm a postal carrier, and I made triple overtime last week for carrying extra bags. He's loaded. He's putting it all on the Leafs. Danger. That total looks a little bit low. Leafs, no goaltending, no defense. But you know what? Vegas might be the play, but I'm going to bet the Leafs, Scott, because I'm a sucker for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Probably
I'll tell you, they haven't been winning, and they did last night for me and made me some money. But I want to see them beat Vegas tonight after that game last night. Let's see if they can stay hot. Vancouver is the team that hasn't been winning. They're minus $1.45 at Climate Pledge against Seattle. You can get the Kraken at plus 122. 6 is the total.
I'll tell you one thing. Me and Gabe watched that game. He's a big Canucks guy living in Vancouver now. They should have beat Colorado. This team has not lost 4 in a row all year. I will take Vancouver, even though the Seattle Kraken are playing better, Scott. It's a short price. Tocchet will have these guys ready to go. Give me the Canucks.
And finally, in Lipstick City, the Kings are on home ice at the Crypt, minus $1.45 against the Preds. Nashville at plus 122. 6 is the total in LA tonight.
I'll tell you, Scott, the Kings have kind of turned a corner. That test against Columbus at home, they beat them like 5-1 there. So this team is starting to feel it. Get them at 18-1. I think they're a dangerous team if they get into the playoffs. I like them tonight. Nashville beat Vegas. I could see LA winning this game. I will lay 50 cents and put LA in a parlay as well.
I bet the Caps Tampa over 6.5 goals at plus $1.02 this morning. I bet the Canes minus $1.15 against Florida, and I bet the Red Wings, and I got them at plus 124. There's the hockey for tonight from the Prime Minister. Now we continue on. Amazon lands the rights to stream a 24 wildcard game in the NFL playoffs for $120 million. You've seen it now on Thursday nights. You've seen it now with Miami and Kansas City in the playoffs. Now you're going to see it all the time. You saw it with the Peacock game. Now you're seeing Amazon Prime outbidding everybody for $120 million for a wild card game. I'm not surprised at all. You're going to see this more and more. You're going to have to pay to watch NFL playoff games. In fact, I truly believe, and I said this, people say I'm insane, but it's not going to take long before they're going to make you pay to watch the conference title games. I think the Super Bowl will still be on free TV at some level for another 20 years, but I don't think the title games will be.
I'm with you, Scott. This is the world we're living in right now. We better hit some more winners because we're going to be paying for everything. I notice it here on our hockey channels. You don't get, you only get your local markets. Other than that, you have to pay. Even for like Senators stuff, Montreal stuff, you got to buy the package. It's going to be like this for every single sport right now. You talked about it. Hey, that's the world we're living in. You want to watch stuff? Better win your bets. We're paying for everything. Nothing's free anymore, buddy.
Russell Wilson now heavily favored to go to the Steelers in the offseason. They have the highest odds to get Wilson. I'd rather have Justin Fields all day than Russell Wilson. No, thank you.
I got to tell you something. I don't understand the disrespect for Justin Fields. Great call by you, Scott. I love this guy with the Bears. He's one of the fastest runners, and he's on one of the hardest surfaces to run. This guy, Pittsburgh, you give him any type of protection, he's fine. That's the whole thing. They never had an offensive line. What do you want from the guy? Chicago, what do you want him to do? He's running for his life every game, and then you finally give him one receiver and Moore and Cole Kmet. I will, dude, if the Steelers if they get Justin Fields, watch out, because I tell you, that's a perfect fit. I'm with you. Russell Wilson, he's used goods, buddy. I'm a Seahawk fan, I'll tell you. He's on his last legs.
The Pirates reach a 5-year deal with Mitch Helen Keller for $77 million. And the Mets ace, Senga, the forkball freak, is likely to start the season on the IL because he's already got dead arm. He's been at training camp for 5 days and he's got dead arm. What is going on there?
I don't know, man. I'm going to tell you something. The Mets are like a disease. Like, I don't want to be anywhere near these guys. They're absolutely, you want to talk about bad luck? This is unbelievable, Scott. Like, the guy, they haven't even, you said it, we haven't even started yet. And this is already the story. God, I feel sorry for Mets fans. Anyway, good luck in that division with Atlanta and Philadelphia and everybody else. Sad times. We haven't even begun.
So we already know we're going to have a 12-team college football playoff, and they haven't even started it yet. But they're already talking, the College Football Playoff Committee, about a 14-team playoff model a day after approving the 12-team format for the next 2 seasons. It will not take long before it's 14, 24, 36, 68. I mean, what are they doing? Make up your mind. It should just be 12.
Yeah, whatever the hell it's going to be, you said it. And then other people, oh, man, we need 16. We need 20. How many teams do we want to get in here? You said it, Scott. It's going to change all the time. Whatever. I don't really care. But the thing is, hit a number and stick to it. This is ridiculous.
Players can start opting into the new EA college football game on video games. If they choose to lend their NIL to it, they'll be paid $600 annually and given a copy at a game. Gee, thanks. Nick Saban is hoping to help bring reform, uniformity, and common sense to college football during his retirement. That may be the most ridiculous thing I've heard all day. Just do game day on Saturdays. Thanks so much, Coach. You're going to change the world, huh, now that you're done coaching? Ohio State and Northwestern will play at Wrigley Field on November 15th next season, while Northwestern's field is undergoing construction. What they should do is blow up that field. Ryan Field in Evanston is a dump. It's 150,000 years old. Jesus played there in his sandals. Ohio State will stop Northwestern there.
My buddy showed me his championship ring, special teams with Northwestern. Smart guy. Anyway, yeah, Scott, you're right. That place, that field is gross. It's brutal.
Eli Gold, the longtime Bama play-by-play voice, they're not bringing him back. They decided not to bring him back because he's old. Gio Urshela and the Tigers agreed to a contract, and I'm the only person that mentioned it. Some sports books are setting the A's win total this year at 56.5, the lowest win total they have ever offered in sports. Are you kidding me?
I'm not betting over. I'm already done betting baseball after taking the Padres today. By the way, tune into Sports Ridge Late Night. We got Brent Beard on, friend of Eli Gold, SEC guy. We'll talk about DeBoer in Alabama getting rid of broadcasting legend Eli Gold. Morency's got a one-on-one interview tonight, so stay tuned, everybody.
Damn, the whole time I thought it was Amanda Beard coming on, and I was excited. What happened to Charlie Woods today in his trial for a PGA Tour event?
Oh, it did not go well, Scott. We got, what is this, smooth 86. He took a 12 on the par 4 7. Hey, he's only 15 years old, but man, if he would have just had 12 on a par 4, 8 over on one hole. Oh, God, what are we going to do? Hey, 15. Don't worry, Tiger. He's only 15. We can work on his game for a while, but still, you're not ready for prime time yet, kid. Come on.
I shot a 76 in the Bob Hope Mafia Classic. Sign me up. I'm 10 strokes better than a kid. Great job today, Prime Minister. Thank you.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
with the Nets, though, because this team is hot garbage. I mean, poor Jacques Vaughn. Talk about just wrong place, wrong times.
I mean, the reason that they parted ways with Jacques Vaughn in the first place, this is a team that, yes, they had Kyrie and KD at the beginning of the year last year, but they were still a team that made the playoffs. They were still a team that took the game off the 76ers. And going into the All-Star break, they weren't even in the play-in picture.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
It felt during the year that there was a little bit of disconnect with Wilkes and Kyle Shanahan. The total points allowed by Steve Wilkes' defense the last 3 years before this, head coach for the Cardinals, they gave up the 26th most points, defensive coordinator for the Browns, 20th most points, and then Carolina, they gave up the 19th most points.
Ferrall Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Ferrall Coast to Coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, for elephant finish time, a human skull was found in a pond by a 13-year-old. It belongs to a man who tried to kill his wife in 2004. So he tried to kill her, but they found his skull. That's even better. Chinese man, mistress executed for throwing his 2 young kids out of an apartment window so they could start a new family together. They were lovers. They threw the kids out the window. Sometimes you have to make decisions. That decision did not go over well. Millions of teen girls victimized as classmates turned them into deep fake porn. What could be worse? Jealous boyfriend in Australia blames PlayStation 5 after ramming a McDonald's with his car while trying to run over his girlfriend. I love McDonald's French fries. I just wanted to say that. Life-threatening STIs, sexually transmitted infections, I thought they were STDs, are spiking across the U.S. per the CDC. The data says it's out of control. Teacher in Virginia admits to sneaking into a 14-year-old student's home to have sex in his bed. What is going on here? New Jersey man charged with murder for allegedly stabbing his ex-classmate 37 times using a manifesto. Is that like a notebook? You can actually stab someone with a manifesto? Florida man arrested after walking around an airport drunk and naked. How did the guy get naked in the airport? In the men's room, and then he rolled out into the main area? Arrest made in Cancun after 5 dismembered bodies are found in a taxi. Anybody want to go to vacation in Mexico? California grandpa shot dead trying to apologize after a minor fender bender. I'm so sorry. 3 to the chest. LA private school forced to close over intrusions by the homeless drug users in the community. California cops are auctioning off bongs seized by cannabis shops. I hope they were Jerome Baker bongs. New Mexico man enjoyed noodles and hot chocolate during a burglary. He broke in and started making hot chocolate. GTD is next with KW, your boy Kevin Walsh. Go to FerrallOnABench.com because I make people tons of money. I'll see you tomorrow at 3 on Coast to Coast.